All right, everyone. So, welcome to episode 106 of Sports Hype. There was some devastating news in the basketball world this week as Bill Walton did pass away at the age of 71 due to cancer. So, I just want to say rest in peace to him and prayers up to his family and his friends. And he was a huge basketball fan, probably one of, if not the biggest basketball fans in the world from what I saw and how he portrayed himself talking about the game. So the basketball world definitely going to miss him, and rest in peace to one of the greats to ever do it.
Yeah, had a great collegiate, career at UCLA. Went to the Trailblazers. Had a great career there. I remembered there was a story of how there was a massive brawl. This was the first nationally televised finals, right, between them and the 76ers. And obviously they wanted to be like family friendly, right? So of course, there's a massive brawl between the Trailblazers, the 76ers, and there was only one player not fighting, right, out of this
Hmm.
entire thing, and that was Bill Walton. So just that story shows you like the type of person who he is, right, and the stuff that he believed in. Going to the Celtics, obviously had a great career there. Um, didn't he play for you guys for a little bit?
I think so.
He played for
I
you guys.
believe so.
So I mean, overall, just a great NBA career, and then made an amazing, you know, commentator career over in the Pac-12. I mean, every Friday night, I want to say every late game you would have, it would be the Pac-12. Hearing Bill Walton and his stories of how he used to play and how he believes these kids are so much, more talented than, people in the past, and then him being shocked at the things that they could do. It was amazing, and it was really lifted spirits, right? And lifted everyone's emotions and really got rid of all the noise in the world, right? And
Hmm.
all you could focus on was the happiness that Bill Walton provided and the enjoyment and the entertainment that he, provided when he was commentating a game. So, really thankful, to be able to, listen to him and watch him. Very sad that he passed. Really, you didn't know he had cancer the way he
No.
acted. So, I mean, he had an amazing life, but it's just a sad time for the NBA and basketball fans in general. But I mean, prayers out to his family, prayers out to the basketball world. We lost a great.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. He was probably one of the most enthusiastic and happy people that I never met him, but like, well, based off what he portrayed, one of the most enthusiastic and happy people I've ever seen.
Right.
So rest in peace, like I said, and prayers up to his family and friends.
Mhm.
But to get to the talking points, there is two things we have to get through today. First and foremost, the Texans did extend wide receiver Nico Collins to a 3-year, $72.75 million deal with a max value of $75 million and $52 million guaranteed. So we'll give our thoughts on that signing and if it was worth it for the Texans. The Dolphins also extended wide receiver Jalen Waddle to a 3-year, $84.75 million deal that includes 76 million guaranteed, and this deal makes him one of the top 5 highest paid receivers in the league. I believe the fourth highest, right behind his running mate Tyreek Hill. So we'll give our thoughts on that signing as well. And then Cortland Sutton hasn't attended any team activities for the Broncos. Is he forcing his way out? I believe so. We'll get Gio's thoughts on that. Jamar Chase also hasn't attended any Bengals OTAs. He's seeking a new deal himself. So we'll go through what that means for the Bengals and Jamar Chase, and then get to the NBA. Tyronn Lue and the Clippers finally agreed on a new contract extension that makes him one of the highest paid coaches in the league. 5 years, nearly $70 million. So we'll give our thoughts on that extension for both the Clippers and Tyronn Lue. And then there is a few controversial opinions going around this. Is Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving the greatest scoring backcourt of all time? Draymond Green has gone out and said that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are. So we'll get our thoughts on that. I think it makes for a very interesting conversation. And then to wrap it up, we'll get what's next for the Pacers and Timberwolves after their respective playoff exits, and we'll give our finals predictions between the Mavericks and the Celtics. So to get into it, we'll talk about the Texans extending wide receiver Nico Collins to a 3-year, $72.75 million deal with a max value of $75 million and $52 million guaranteed. So what's your thoughts on that signing, Gio?
You know, these last couple of signings, these last couple of podcasts have been saying how these aren't major moves. I think this is a major move personally. I mean, yeah, you have, Tank Bell, right? You just received Stephon Diggs. But Nico Collins is a great receiver, in my opinion. Yes, do I think he got paid a little too much regarding all the other talent on that team that's gonna want the bag? And respectively, I could say yes, but I mean this was a great extension, great signing. Nico Collins is a great receiver, in my opinion, great weapon, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that this is a crucial signing for the Texans. I think they needed to re-sign him because he is such a good threat for them, and it makes for a three-headed monster with Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell once he gets healthy, and then Nico Collins, of course. And this Texans offense, on paper, it looks like one of the best offenses in the NFL, and they had to make sure they kept Nico Collins to keep that intact, and I think they did that, and I think he did deserve this type of money with the type of season he had last year.
Yeah, I mean, you could arguably say it is the best offense in the league on paper, right? You look
Mhm.
at what the Dolphins are, and they were supposed to be the best offense in the league last year, right?
Right.
I think they're better. I think the Texans are better offensively. I'm taking CJ Stroud over Tua Tagovailoa any day of the week. I'm sorry to all the Dolphins fans out there for saying that, but I mean, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the success that this kid has had in 1 year, whereas Tua has progressively gotten better, I mean, CJ Stroud, he's showing like he's, Joe Burrow. He's having instant success. And I'm not taking away what Tua has built down in Miami. I'm just building on the fact that CJ Stroud is the next star up, and I think he's going to win a Super Bowl before the Miami Dolphins will.
That's a bold take. We'll see what happens. I am imagining what Nick Say would be saying right now, or what his face would be doing if he was on here. But
I mean, we would have a 30-minute conversation of how Tua Tagovailoa should be MVP. But overall, I'm like, look at the defense they built, right? Look at the offense, and
oh,
they
I
had
think
success.
I mean they made it to the second round last year, and with
Right,
adding Stephon, adding Joe Mixon, keeping the
right.
other offensive weapons intact, and then like you said, rebuilding that defense, they are a dark horse to make the Super Bowl for sure.
100%. I'm not saying this year, but I'm saying they're going to win a Super Bowl before the Miami Dolphins are going to, because look how stacked that AFC East is. I mean, yeah, the Bills are worse, but they're still the Bills. You still got Josh Allen. You have the Jets, who are a big question mark. Yes, we all know Aaron Rodgers grabbed that ankle yesterday, but still, if you have a healthy Aaron Rodgers in that team, you have a top 5 defense in the league. They're going to make some noise in the AFC East, right? And then you have the Dolphins, where we saw them choke. That offense choked last year in Kansas City.
Yeah, I don't believe that the Dolphins got any better than they were last year. So I put my money on the Texans being better than the Dolphins this year for sure.
Right.
Because like we said, the Texans went all in. Dolphins, they
Right.
lost key players. They didn't add key
Yes.
players like the Texans did.
Right. That's right.
So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be very interesting, but the only offense I could think of that I'll put over the Texans on paper is the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's it.
Could you, though? I mean, yes, you do have Travis. You do have Patrick, the two greatest players of the respective positions. But, I mean, other than that, yeah, you got Brown. Yeah, you added that great weapon from Texas. I mean,
Rashee Rice.
Richie Rice. I mean, the only one I could personally say is the San Francisco 49ers. Just
Yeah, I
talent.
can see that.
You have McCaffrey, you have Kittle, you have Debo, right? You still have Ayuk for the remainder part of the offseason probably. But
Yeah.
I mean, on paper, that's probably, and you have Brock Purdy at the helm. So I mean, you have a great offense there on paper. It's just, can they perform and can they stay healthy for the postseason?
Right, and that will remain to be seen. But speaking of the Dolphins, they did extend Jalen Waddle, as I said, to a 3-year, $84 million deal that includes $76 million guaranteed. This makes him the fourth highest paid receiver in the league. So, what's your thoughts on that?
I think obviously this is a necessary move for the Dolphins. You have to pay Jalen, especially since he was a top 5 receiver 2 years ago. Although he had an off year last year, he's still a top wide receiver. Still your second guy on the team. Especially where I don't know if Tyreek's gonna want to stay down there for a little bit longer. Who knows what his plans are? You have to cement that you're gonna have that number 2 guy, if not that number 1 guy for the near future. And I think Jalen's that guy, and I think that was the right move for them. Other than that, I mean, I think it was the obvious move for them. I don't think they wouldn't have re-signed him, but I mean, good for him, good for the organization, and let's see what they can do this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was a very necessary move for the Dolphins because Tyreek has come out and said that he almost might be done playing. So we don't know how much longer he's going to play. You have to have a backup option for when he leaves, and Jalen Waddle is that backup option. And he's also a great number 2 option. Yeah, he had an off year last year, like Gio said, but he also couldn't stay healthy. When he's healthy, he is one of the best receivers in the league. He showed that 2 years ago, and I think this is a very warranted deal for Jalen Waddle and a very necessary move for the Dolphins.
Yeah, for sure.
But moving on to a team that is in the dumps, the Denver Broncos. Courtland Sutton hasn't attended any team activities over there. As I said, I believe he's trying to force his way out. What do you think, Gio?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you look at what they have there, and although Bo Nix is that guy, right? Personally, I think he's the second best quarterback in the draft. He's just NFL ready. But I mean, like other than that, you have nothing. You have no line. You have no defense. So might as well force your way out. Especially if you want to win now, and especially his age. I mean, he just wants to win a Super Bowl. He wants to get that done, get that off. Off his back, and then retire probably. So I mean, I understand why he's doing it. It's just, is it fair to Bo Nix? No, it's not fair to him, and it's not fair to the organization. Fair to the organization.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely trying to force his way out. I mean, like you said, there's nothing to stick around for in Denver. You're not going to win anytime soon. They're rebuilding. It's probably be 5 years till they're relevant again at most, in my opinion. So, I mean, like you said, he wants to win. And if he wants to win, he's going to have to find a way to force his way out, which is what he's doing. But like you said, definitely not fair to Bo Nix and Sean Payton or the organization because he already lost Jerry Jeudy, and now he might lose Courtland Sutton. Who is he going to have to throw to at the end of the day? He has absolutely nobody to throw to. You're just setting him up for failure once he steps on that field.
Right.
So very unfortunate for the Broncos, but we'll see what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
Another big name receiver who hasn't shown up to any activities is Jamar Chase, seeking a new deal. Obviously, he deserves one as well. So, what do you think that means for both the Bengals and Jamar Chase?
Yeah, I'm a little shocked about this. Not the fact that it's OTAs. I mean, a lot of players don't show up to OTAs. Let's be honest.
I mean, they are voluntary, so let's put that out there. But obviously, it does help the team.
It sure does, right? And we spoke about that last time, how it builds chemistry, team camaraderie, and then culture.
And with the Dallas situation right now, Micah Parsons hasn't shown up. Mike McCarthy's not very happy, not because he's not in good shape, but because they have a whole new defense to learn, and he's missing out on those opportunities. So if you miss out on these opportunities now, it just sets you personally back, which will ultimately set your team back.
Yes, but when you're such a gifted defensive player, like, okay, you want to move to Dallas, I mean, we can, but I just want to stay focused because I can go on and on about how great Micah Parsons is and how he doesn't really need to be there because he's such a great defensive player. The greats don't actually need to do it because things click like that instantly for these guys, right? That are the greatest. Like Tom Brady can instantly switch from any franchise because they have a whole different play set offensively. He can switch to any offense and he can be successful, right? I think that's the same thing with TJ Watt. I think that's the same thing with Micah Parsons defensively. if they switch to any team, they understand things unlike any other. That it would be they can be successful instantaneously on any franchise. So I can understand why McCarthy's upset about it. But really, realistically, Micah's Micah, and he's going to do his thing every single year like he has been. But
Yeah, I
going
mean,
back,
I was just gonna say I agree. I mean, I'm not worried about it at all. I was just saying, like, based on OTAs, like
yeah,
showing up. I know it's voluntary, but showing up can help your team, and it can also
it-
hurt your team if you don't show up.
right, and it also puts you, if you're a star player, it can put you into the spotlight, put you into the media, and put unnecessary stress on that franchise. But like with Micah and the Cowboys. But with Jamar, it's interesting to me because you got rid of pretty much everyone, and everyone wants to leave
Right.
you guys for some reason. I mean,
Right.
I don't think it's anyone other than maybe the general manager or the front office, because Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. He's a great leader, and you've seen players stick with him because of that. So is Jamar really forcing his way out right now? Does he want out of Cincinnati? Um, or is he looking for a contract extension? I'm not quite sure on what the case may be yet, but at the same time, I'm thinking they're going to be the worst in the AFC North. I mean, if Joe Burrow is not healthy, like people are saying he's not, why stick around, like you said, with the Broncos? Because you're not going to have any success. And I think Jamar wants to win that championship where he was so close to 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was very surprised when I saw this notification from Adam Schefter. I was like, oh, he's not there either. That means no T. Higgins and no
Yep.
Jamar Chase. They already
Right.
lost Tyler Boyd. Who does Joe
And
Burrow have to throw to if this
right,
happens?
right.
And
Mixon's
like,
on, right?
yeah, no Joe Mixon. Like they've lost so many weapons,
Yeah.
and it's just not looking good for the Bengals right now at all. And I was very surprised, but I think he's seeking a new deal for sure, and he wants to make sure that he gets his money's worth, which I would too if I was that good of a receiver. He's arguably top 3, maybe even top 2, and he deserves that type of money. But if he doesn't get that money as he's trying to force his way out, like Gio said, I think he could be, and this is sending a message to the Bengals organization: you better pay me or you're going to lose me.
Yeah.
And if that happens, like I said, Joe Burrow is going to have no one to throw to, and I agree they will be the worst in the AFC North. I mean, as of right now, even if they keep Jamar Chase, they still might be the worst in the AFC North.
Right.
Like it's between them and the Bengals, I would say, them and the Browns, I'll say for 3 and 4, because the top 2 is going to be the Ravens and Steelers, and you can interchange them. It's going to be one of those 2, in my opinion.
I agree, but I can also see a dark horse in the Browns to where the Steelers or the Ravens, if say the Steelers, if their quarterback situation doesn't work out, they're obviously going to be number 3. But if you look at, the Ravens, right, and the Browns, that Browns offense is stacked. They have so many weapons, and then their defense is so much better. I think the Ravens defense took a step back, but that Browns team just added more and more depth to their offense and defense to where I think they can be the number 1 seed.
Yeah, but the problem with the Browns for me is that they can never stay healthy. Their stars, specifically, such as Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb.
Right, but even without Nick Chubb, even without Deshaun Watson last year, they made it to the 4 seed.
Yeah, but they had Nick Chubb for a majority of the year, I believe.
I think it was only like 5-6 games, man. I don't think it was that much.
I thought it maybe. I think I thought I might be wrong, but I thought it was like at least week 8.
Even then, it's half a season. I mean, you had a whole other half to just fall apart with, and they didn't fall apart.
Yeah, but we all know why that happened. Joe Flacco came out of retirement.
Joe Flacco did come out of retirement, and I'm sure he'll do it again if they call him. So
Right. Yeah, I won't be surprised if the Steelers don't work out, because, as you said, we got to see their quarterback situation. On paper, it's good, but on paper, a
right.
lot of quarterback situations have been good and it hasn't worked out, such as
That's right.
Kenny Pickett. And we'll see what happens with their quarterback situation is going to make or break their season. So if it doesn't work out, then yeah, they'll be 3rd, if not 4th, once again.
Right.
So it's going to be, I think, one of the most interesting divisions to watch and one of the most competitive divisions as well.
Sure.
But moving on to the NBA, Tyronn Lue and the Clippers did agree on a new contract that makes him one of the highest paid coaches in the league. He's getting 5 years, nearly $70 million. So what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, that was perfect for the Clippers. That's the exact same thing they need to do in order to be successful at least in the near future. Kawhi Leonard obviously has to be healthy. They have to re-sign Paul George and James.
Well, rumors are that Paul George might
James Harden.
leave.
Rumors are Paul George might leave. Rumors are that he might go to the Magic. He might go to Cleveland.
Sixers are in there too.
Sixers, possibly you guys. I hear you guys might try to poach him. But if you guys get Paul George, if you guys get, James Harden, a full season, I mean, it'll be tough to beat them if Kawhi Leonard's healthy, but that's a big if. But the best thing they could do is get a great coach in Tyronn Lue, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was a much needed extension for Tyronn Lue. Yes, he gets a lot of flack for losing in the playoffs, but when your star player is not healthy and not active, there's really nothing you can do to propel your team to a win. Like James Harden played great, Paul George played great, but without Kawhi Leonard, they aren't what they are supposed to be. And if he can't stay on the floor, they're not going to be able to win. And that's not on Tyronn Lue. He can't make Kawhi stay healthy. Like that's on Kawhi. Kawhi has to do what he has to do to stay healthy throughout an entire season.
100%. And when you have a healthy team, you saw what Tyronn Lue did in 2016, 2017, and 2018. He went to the finals. I don't care who you are. LeBron James hasn't reached the finals 3 straight years with the coaches you've had, right, in LA. You need a good coach. You need a great player like LeBron James in order to reach the finals. And Tyronn Lue just hasn't had the healthy, star players like he did in Cleveland.
Right. And that's why I think if you're going to trade someone, you have to consider trading Kawhi Leonard because Paul George can actually stay on the floor. Kawhi Leonard cannot.
Yeah. I mean, Paul George is a great player. James Harden, to me, was the best player in this postseason for them. When you look at that, I think you can get rid of Paul George. If you keep James Harden, I think he's just as good of a number 2 as he is a number 3.
Yeah, I agree. But you'd rather get rid of Paul George than Kawhi?
I mean, you just signed Kawhi Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'll be so... You cannot trade Kawhi Leonard. It's like trading LeBron James. If Kawhi Leonard is healthy, he is the best player on the planet.
But the problem is, for me personally, is he's never healthy. That's the problem. It's like he's turning into Anthony Davis from 2021 to 2023, minus this year.
But here's the thing with that. It's like, it's that knee. His knee has not been the same. For me, it's like Derrick Rose, right? Look how great Derrick Rose was before the injuries. Look how great Kawhi Leonard was before the injuries. He's turning into Derrick Rose to where we're not able to see his full potential anymore because of these sustaining injuries.
Right. And that's why it's like you might have to consider getting rid of him now before it gets even worse. Because if it's continued to get worse, it's just going to continue to get worse, in my opinion.
But to me, it's just like it's Kawhi Leonard. He's the greatest defensive player and offensive player in the entire world, I would say. Because how efficient is he in the playoffs when he's healthy? He shoots 60% from the field, and he can defend the best offensive player on the other team.
Yeah, I mean it's easier said than done to trade him because of what you just said. I mean, when healthy, he is one of the best players in the league, let alone the world, and it's just hard to wrap your head around like having to trade him. But if you're really if say he doesn't stay healthy again this year and you keep him, give him another shot, you're going to have to highly consider it after this upcoming year if the same thing happens.
I 100% agree. But here's the thing with me. If you get rid of Paul George and you keep Kawhi Leonard, you can't trade him.
Right. And that's the problem that we're seeing now. Because if Paul George does get traded, say they do, and then Kawhi doesn't stay healthy in the playoffs, they're going to be like, oh, wow, we should have just traded Kawhi.
100%. And when you think of it as, okay, how much do we have to pay Paul George? Oh, wait, he didn't perform in the playoffs yet again, and James Harden is on a different team. We should have kept James Harden. It's like there are so many question marks and so many different, um, like different ways the Clippers can go about this, right? You choose this player, here's an entire different scenario. You choose this player, here's a different scenario, right? It's like, who are you going to pick and choose in order to make your team? And what kind of culture do you want to build in your new arena and your new team? Because this is a perfect setup for a whole new culture and a whole new, pretty much like strategy, team orientation to where you can become successful, right? And get the championship off your back, win a championship your first year in this new arena. You're not tied to the Lakers anymore. So congratulations on that. So, I mean, this is the perfect year for the Clippers to not mess it up, right?
Right.
You just don't mess it up.
Right. But knowing the Clippers, they most likely will. They'll probably, in my opinion, they're going to end up trading Paul George just because I don't think Paul George wants to stay there long term, and they know that. I think that they're going to trade him, and then we'll see what happens after that. But like we said, extending Tyronn Lue was the right move, and they made the right decision in that aspect.
Right.
But there has been questions circling around Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
In your opinion, are they the greatest scoring backcourt of all time? Because Dan Van Gundy, I believe every game of the Western Conference Finals said that it is the best scoring backcourt of all time. So what's your opinions on that?
The best scoring backcourt of all time. I'm thinking very hard. Who is better than them? I mean,
Draymond
James
did come out and say that Steph and Clay.
I don't think it's Steph and Clay.
I don't either, because Clay can't get his own like Kyrie can.
Well, 100%. But here's the thing: Luka Doncic is 6'9". What is he? 6'9", 6'10". He is
like 6'8", yeah, something like that.
You are not stopping him. He is unguardable. This is the problem where this is very scary. If you're any other team other than the Mavericks, you have two unguardable offensive players. You cannot stop them. You cannot stop.
We saw that last night where Luka started the game with 20 points in the first quarter, and then the second quarter, Kyrie came out of nowhere and added 15.
Right.
I mean,
they both. The game
what do you like? Anthony Edwards after the game said, "Well, Luka hit 3 threes from the logo in the first quarter. There's really nothing we can do."
But then again, they can do it on all cylinders. They can hit the three at an extremely efficient rate. They can go into the mid range. They can finish at an amazing rate. Look, Kyrie Irving is the greatest finisher of all time.
I mean, and then they were the Timberwolves. Like the Timberwolves were blitzing, and then they blitz, of course, and then they find the open man. Like they're not just scorers.
Right. And here's the thing with me. It's like, yes, Clay is a great shooter, but he's not, he's not
Kyrie or Luka.
And I'm putting Kyrie and, Steph together because obviously they're the point guards. But,
right.
I mean, you can mix and match those guys however you want. I'm just saying Luka Doncic is that much better than Klay Thompson at scoring-wise, right?
I mean, maybe Clay in his prime when he, scored 60 points on 10 dribbles. But
that's the thing. That's the thing. 10 dribbles. 10 dribbles, Jake.
That's the thing. Like,
that's a shooter. He's a shooter.
Like Draymond says that he can go and get his own. No, he absolutely cannot. He has to be set up perfectly to get his own.
But even then, he can set himself up, but he's not gonna go ahead and take you one-on-one, dribble out the clock, and give you a bucket at any point in time. Right? Mm-hmm. That's not Clay's game. Luka can do that, and he can spot up, and he can do everything perfectly. Right?
If we were just talking, point guards, then it'd be a conversation because Steph is Steph. He makes it look effortless. But add Clay in it.
Kyrie Irving is better than Steph Curry. Why? Because his finishing is at an elite level compared to, to me, he's the greatest finisher of all time. Dribbling wise, he has the greatest handle of all time. and he is the most clutch player, in my opinion, of all time. Kyrie lost one of his closeout games, but when have you ever seen Kyrie lose a closeout game or lose a game in the clutch? I cannot think of any game that Kyrie has lost in the clutch. It's shocking when he misses a shot.
Yeah, for real. You look at the 2016 finals where he hits that shot over Steph Curry. That pretty much, cemented that he is better than Steph Curry.
In my opinion, I do believe that, Kyrie Irving, it was and still is the best point guard in the league.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's 1A and 1B. And honestly, the way Kyrie's playing right now, if he continues to play like this, the league better watch out. And he is better than Steph Curry right now. Yes.
He's what, 33? Like, it's ridiculous.
He's 32, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at that, but anyways, I'm thinking like, okay, you can say LeBron James, he's a point guard, and Kyrie Irving if you want, right?
You could, yeah. When they both scored, what was it, 50 in that one finals game?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough.
Like, I've been trying to think about it all week, and I really can't think of a better duo than Kyrie and Luka Doncic, backcourt wise.
I mean, Baylor and West.
You're going way back.
I'm trying to think, man. That's why I'm like, okay, Baylor and West, they're top greatest players of all time, right? They're like top 20.
Who played with who was in the backcourt with Magic?
I don't know, but they weren't the greatest scorers of all time.
Yeah, they were the greatest passers. That's true.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, Magic was the greatest.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great scorer, but he's not the greatest. You know what I'm saying? Like, Luka could be arguably the scorer of all time right now, too.
Yeah, when it's all, I mean, the thing you sent me on Instagram where he scored 450 points, 150 rebounds, 150 assists in these playoffs, that's insane.
But then LeBron James did that 6 times, dude.
6 times, yeah. That's even crazier. Yeah, I mean, there's an argument.
LeBron James. There's any other guard.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no other, like, because I could, honestly, I'm struggling to put LeBron James in the backcourt because, like, he's more of a front court person, like front court.
But he can be listed as a guard.
He can be, but the problem is he's not.
No. So, anyways, okay, let's just.
There's an argument to be made that they could be the greatest scoring backcourt of all time, 100%.
Greatest scoring. I mean, I don't think it's an argument, dude.
You just think it's facts?
I think it's a fact. I think it's factual. I mean, who else is beating them in the present day game? No one. Like you said, Klay Thompson and Steph. We just argued how they are not better than those two.
And we just saw this backcourt basically tear their way through the West by themselves. No one can beat them right now, and they showed that.
I mean, I'm trying to think like JJ Redick and Chris Paul and the Clippers. No.
The thing is, again, bro, JJ's pretty much Klay 2.0.
Right. I mean,
no disrespect to Klay and JJ, but they're just not on the level of a.
One, I got two. Obviously not better, but two. John Wall, Bradley Beal. Okay, two that can get their own bucket and were ridiculously good. Obviously, they had prime LeBron James, who was the greatest player of all time in a lot of people's minds, right? Yep. And had to go past him. You couldn't do that. They were too young. Then you had Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, who are another great scoring, backcourt.
Yeah,
I think the argument you made, you can the argument that those two duos are better than Klay Thompson and Steph Curry as a scoring backcourt.
Yeah, I mean, but I just don't see. I think it is factual to say that Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving,
It's the
no matter
greatest.
what Draymond Green says, they're the greatest scoring backcourt of all time. Draymond Green's just
They are.
defending his teammates as he should. But factually, if you look at it factually and statistically, they are the greatest scoring backcourt of all time.
Here's the thing between me and Draymond. It's like, yes, he is a great basketball minded, very gifted in, understanding the game of basketball. Congrats to him. Glad to see him succeed, and the commentator side of it.
Right.
But that's not your job as a commentator to defend your teammates. You're supposed to
at
give
some
us
point,
actual information.
right. And if you're going to be a commentator after you retire, per se, at some point your Warriors bias is going to have to go away.
100%, because look at Paul Pierce right now. His Celtics bias, his bias alone discredits him all the time because we can't take him seriously.
No. And that's the thing with me and Draymond. Like every time someone brings up, a backcourt or greatest point guard, he's like, Steph. I'm like, dude, at some point you have to look at it factually rather than just have Steph pop into your mind because he's your teammate.
Right. And here's okay, there is an argument Steph Curry is the greatest point guard of all time. But you also have to deal with the fact that, okay, we have Magic Johnson, right?
Right.
We have...
It's not as a landslide as people make it seem. Like Magic Johnson is very close to Steph Curry. I personally do have Steph above Magic, but it's very close.
The only reason why I have Magic above him is because look at what teams that Steph had around him and his championship runs.
Right. And that's fair to say. Like, yeah, he won one in 2022 without KD. Props to him. And he won another one without KD too. But majority of his rings came when Kevin Durant came to Golden State.
When you had 4 or 5 All-Stars on your team, yeah, it's not his fault, granted, but it still happened. And we still have to understand and, put that in our analysis of who is the greatest point guard of all time.
Right. So I think Luka and Kyrie definitely the greatest scoring backcourt of all time. And I do agree with you. Draymond, you got to get that Warriors bias out of his mouth once he becomes a commentator full time.
Yeah, I agree.
But moving on to what's next, we'll start with the Pacers. What do you think is next for the Pacers after their playoff exit to the Boston Celtics?
I mean, nothing really. Get healthy. You're still a young team. Just get back to it, get back to the grind, and get better next year. You had a great run this year. You had a great run in the in-season tournament, and then you also had a great run in the NBA playoffs, to where you guys have the experience now to understand what happens in these types of scenarios in a 7-game series. The only thing is keep Siakam. If you can, there's rumors that he might go to New York. There's rumors that he might go somewhere else. As long as you keep Siakam, have Tyrese, Halliburton, you have Miles Turner and all these other guys. Yes, you got to keep TJ McConnell. He was phenomenal for you guys this playoffs. So as long as you can keep your key players, I think you'll be all set next year.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anything is next for the Pacers outside of keeping their players, Siakam, Halliburton, and obviously, who knows what would have happened. Maybe they would have won both games at home, as they were a great playoff team at home, but they didn't have Tyrese Halliburton. Who knows what would have happened in that series if he stayed healthy. So once again, that's unfortunate for the Pacers, but like you said, definitely just got to keep your team intact. And you made a surprising run to the Eastern Conference Finals. No one expected you to be there, and no one expected you to even make the in-season tournament final like you did, as Gio said. So very successful season for the Pacers. They should lift their heads up high, knowing that they did more than they set out to, and just have to keep their team intact and hope to make another run in it next year.
100%.
Now for the Timberwolves, that's a little more controversial in my opinion, because there's a lot of things that they could do. They got to get some help for Ant-Man, obviously. I think it's between trading Rudy and Cat. Me personally, I'd trade Rudy Gobert because his defense alone does not make up for the lack of offense that he gives that team.
100%. And you saw the success they had without Rudy Gobert defensively against the Denver Nuggets, who were the defending champions. When you look at that team, keep Jaden McDaniels at all costs. He is your best defensive player, in my opinion. Yeah, Rudy Gobert was Defensive Player of the Year, but Jaden McDaniels was.
I'm just coming out and saying this. Rudy Gobert is not Defensive Player of the Year. what I saw Luka Doncic turn him into food, that you're not the best defender in the league. I'm sorry.
No, you can't be when you're skating on ice. But here's the thing for me, it's like, okay, are you gonna get rid of Karl Anthony Towns because he didn't show up for the majority part of the
Yeah, but
playoffs, showed up in the games that mattered late.
so the thing is for me is like you obviously you can get more for Cat 100%
Yeah.
because it's Cat. But if you trade Cat, who's the number 2 scoring punch next to Ant? Because it's not Rudy Gobert.
No, it's not. I think it's just Ant-Man. I mean, you have Jaden McDaniels, you have some other good shooters on that team. You have
And that's
Nico
like
Alexander, right?
yeah, I mean they have a great team, but it's just that's the main reason why I trade Rudy because if you trade Cat, you're not helping Anthony Edwards in my opinion. You're only hindering him because now he has to carry more of a load.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, yeah, Karl Anthony Towns is a great offensive weapon. He said it himself. He's the best big man shooter in the league.
Yeah,
I don't.
I don't know about that after what I saw in the series, but keep going.
I mean, he did pretty well to keep him alive. I mean, game 4, he shot the lights out. Okay, he shot the lights out in game 4, even though
Yeah,
he should have been pulled out earlier in the game. But no one wants to talk about that. But I mean, yeah, T-Wolves. Was it luck though? Are they the new Kings? I'm not sure because how can I know that Anthony Edwards can stay that consistent for another year? I mean, he literally shot the lights out. His first
well,
ever playoffs.
to me, I think he can because he just has that swagger. Like he's going to continue to get better. And he said it after they lost. Like the Timberwolves were gassed. We could tell from game 1 that they were gassed from, their
Right.
games since game 7 against the Nuggets. And the Dallas Mavericks had more rest. I'm not making excuses for the Timberwolves. They played absolutely terrible majority of the series, and that's why they ended up losing 4-1. But they were gassed. And Anthony
Mhm.
Edwards, after the game ended last night, was asked what happened, and he said, I was just gassed, and now I know since this is my first playoffs getting this far, I know what it takes to
Right.
put in the work for the conditioning for getting to the not only the Western Conference Finals but the NBA Finals as well. So I think he's got that Mamba mentality in him that he's going to work all offseason to make sure that he gets better and continues his success into next year.
100%. He is Jordan's kid to where the fact he's only 22. Mind everybody, he's 22
Bro,
years
he's
old.
22, and if you watch his press conferences, he is so humble and he takes accountability. No one at that age takes accountability. He does.
He's a great leader. I mean, that's why everybody loves him is because of how great of a talent he is, how great of a leader he is, and the fact that he is so young and like so entertaining. I mean, he
Like
is the face,
if you
future
didn't
face
see
of the
that
league.
dunk, oh, 100%. If you didn't see that dunk on Daniel Gafford though, go back and watch that because that's what Anthony Edwards is.
Here's the thing for me: Michael Jordan didn't win one until he was 29.
Yeah,
Steph Curry didn't win one until he was 28. LeBron James, same thing. So these guys haven't the greatest didn't win theirs until they were later. Anthony
right.
Edwards can do it at year 23 still next year and still be one of the youngest to ever win a championship like that. Be a leader and win a championship. So for him to do that would be remarkable. I still think he could be the face of the league. And like you said, he's only going to get better. He's got that Jordan instinct, that Jordan gene, that Kobe gene. We have the new one, right? We have the new, in my opinion, we have the new chosen one, right? To where it was supposed to be Devin Booker. He was supposed to be that next Kobe Bryant. Jason Tatum was supposed to be that next Kobe Bryant. We'll see if he wins the championship this year, even though, to me, the reason why they win it is going to be Jaylen Brown, if anybody.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah, Anthony Edwards is that guy, and I'm thankful that we have him in this league because when LeBron James retires, who are we going to have? That's going to be the face of the league. Everyone's saying Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, some other guys, Victor Wembanyama, but they're no Anthony Edwards. So I'm glad we have Anthony Edwards in this league and that he's going to be here for a long time because it's going to be fun to watch him.
Yeah, I agree. As of right now, though, I'm putting Luka as the face of the NBA solely because he did take Ant out and what he is doing right now is insane, but we'll see if he continues to do it at a consistent level starting next year.
What was Dirk Nowitzki ever the face of the league?
No, but that's because it was in LeBron James' prime, let's be honest.
Was Steve Nash?
No.
Okay. Was Tony Kukoc?
No.
To me, all these guys were great players. I mean, Luka Doncic is probably going to be the best European player to ever play the game. But I mean, Dirk Nowitzki literally went through the entire gauntlet, just like Luka is now, and he still wasn't the face of the league.
Yeah, I mean that is true. Even if Luka does somehow win this championship, the haters will find a way to say he's not the face of the league.
Right. And for me, it's like I think he could be the face of the league as well. That's why I think Anthony Edwards could possibly be the face of the league, but Luka Doncic is right there with him.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to because he is a European player. That's why I mentioned all those guys, because they are all amazing players, but they weren't an American player like Anthony Edwards is. And I think that's going to come down to who's going to be the face of the league. They're looking for the next American. They're not looking for the next Victor Wembanyama, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic should be the face of the league right now, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he really
been in the league for 3+ years.
Yeah, that is actually his crazy thing about. I never thought about that. I also think it's also the MJ narratives are trying to keep Michael Jordan's name in the NBA for as long as possible, and Anthony Edwards is the way to do that.
100%. But it's like, come on, we've had so many great European players in the last couple of years. Any one of them could have taken the throne, or we could have named them the throne. It's literally the media. You can honestly give any one of these players the throne if they wanted to, but they didn't. They wanted to keep it. Okay, who's going to be the next one after LeBron's gone? Let's be honest, LeBron is gone. He's not the same player anymore. It's a new era. Give it to somebody else.
I mean, I do believe LeBron hasn't been the face of the league since, I'll argue, since the championship in 2020. Ever since like 2021 when he didn't make the playoffs, they're like, oh yeah, it's someone else's league now.
Right. And where's Jokic? Jokic was right there waiting for his time.
They gave it to Giannis instead because he won the championship that year.
But even then, it's the face of the league. It's still LeBron James. It's still Steph Curry. LeBron James and Steph.
I mean, they could say they're not the face of the league, but without them, there's no NBA.
True, but I mean, look at like you said, Luka Doncic. I mean, Luka's name is all over Europe. Luka's name is all over America. He should be the face of the league.
Yeah, he should be, but like you said, he won't be because it's just the critics. They find a way not to discredit him always.
But is that because he's not American? Because we're in an American league?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but you did open my eyes to that because I never thought about how like European players have never been the face of the league, and now I'm thinking, why is that?
I mean, it kind of sucks because how much more did Dirk have to do in order to be the face of the league, at least for that year or the next year? I mean, he was that good. He made that great of a run.
Yeah, I mean, he took down the big three, Miami Heat, and
right.
no one batted an eye.
Against who was it? Was it against the Timberwolves with KG? Was it with didn't he have to go against the Spurs at one point? I mean, the teams he had to go against.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane, and no one batted an eye, which is insane.
Right.
And I think that's what they're going to do. If Luka somehow wins this championship, they're going to be like, oh, he went through the youngest team in the NBA. Doesn't count. Like, what?
Congratulations. He had Kyrie Irving,
Yeah, they're always going to find a way. It's like, bro, at some point, you just got to eat your words and say that he is one of, if not the best in the league.
Right. And if not even that, but the face, and the face is influenced, right? That's why they're the face. That's why LeBron's the face of the league. Right. Like I said, Luka Doncic is all over Europe. Luka Doncic is all over America right now. How is he not the most influential player right now?
They're always finding a way to make it Anthony Edwards. They just always will.
Yeah. Or the next American.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But getting back to the Timberwolves, as we said, in our opinion, trade Rudy for something that you can get back hopefully a better offensive big man, and try to work that out with Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns and see where
Right.
you can get.
100%.
But to wrap it up, what is your NBA Finals prediction?
Mavs in 6.
You got them in 6. All right. I got Mavs in 7. I think this series goes 7 no matter what, just because of how evenly based the teams are.
But Boston is the higher seed. So you're saying that they're going to win Game 7 in Boston?
I mean, they did just go 3-0 in Minnesota, so yeah.
I think so, but I mean, I think Boston's going to win 1 or 2 games at home. That's the only reason why I think they could. Like, it's going to be a 6-game series. They're going to try to win it on their home floor in 6.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think Kristaps is going to be back for Game 1 or 2, possibly, right?
Yeah, I mean, he is resting up, but nothing's come out yet.
Right. So if he's not back by Game 1, I could see Mavs taking Game 1. If he's not back, if he is back for Game 1, I could still see Mavs coming at him because he's been resting. He's not in that game shape yet, right? He's been resting for a long time. So I think either way, Mavs can win Game 1.
Yeah, I agree. The thing for me that puts the Mavericks over the Celtics personally is the guard play. I think, I mean,
Yeah.
we saw Tyrese Halliburton and Andrew Nemhard tear apart, and TJ McConnell for that matter, tear apart the Boston Celtics defense. Now you play Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who are 10 times better than those guys. Yeah, you have no chance if that's the type of defense you're going to play Boston.
Right.
So I think the Mavs are definitely. I think the series definitely goes at least 6, like Gio said. But I think overall the series will go 7, and it's going to be one of the best finals in memories because of Kyrie Irving returning to Boston. The Boston fans, going to let him have it, and I hope Kyrie humbles them.
I think they're going to do. Kyrie and Luka's going to do their thing. The only thing is, I think the Celtics guards have cooled down. We haven't seen, the craziness of Derek White in a minute. We haven't seen Drew Holiday go crazy yet this playoffs.
Right.
I think Al Horford, he got lucky when hit 8 3-pointers in that one game. I don't think any big is going to let him hit 8 3-pointers, especially of how young and agile the Mavs bigs are. There's just no offensively. I think the Celtics just got lucky. They hitting open shots.
I mean, let's be honest. As we said last podcast, so far it was a fluke run. This is their first test of the entire playoffs.
The Mavs
And
have been
that's
tested.
why, yeah, exactly. They've been tested every round of the playoffs, and that's Dallas Mavericks win the series because they have faced competition throughout every round. Who have the Celtics faced?
Right.
And I just think that's going to push the Mavericks over the edge, and that's why they're going to end up winning and shocking the world.
100%.
But the one thing that I will say is that the Celtics do have not the better backcourt, but they have the better front court. So, I mean, Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively and PJ Washington and Derek Jones Jr. have been great for the Mavericks, but can they do it as consistently as Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, etc.?
I think defensively you can slow down Jason Tatum, right? I think defensively it's going to be hard to slow down Jaylen Brown, but it's possible.
I think the one thing that will either make or break the Celtics this year in the finals is Kristaps Porzingis. If he plays the way he played all regular season, they will win. If he does not, they're going to lose.
I agree, and especially coming off an injury like that, I think he's not going to play like he did. I think he's going to be missing shots. I think he's going to not be conditioned. I don't think he's going to have his legs underneath him, and I think that's why the Mavs are going to win.
Because, I mean, like, let's see. His matchups are Derek Lively, who was a rookie. That should be food for Kristaps Porzingis, but we've seen
it won't be because Lively's a beast.
That's what I'm saying. Also, we've seen, like Jason Tatum, we've seen Kristaps Porzingis fold under pressure before, and I think it's going to happen again because he does have he has Daniel Gafford to go against as well. those two guys, yeah, their defense isn't great, but their defense is physical. That's one thing Kristaps Porzingis does not do well is play against physicality.
Right.
And yes, he can get out and shoot the three, which will open up Celtics offense. But that's another reason I don't like the Celtics. All it takes is one bad shooting game or one bad shooting series, and they lose. They rely way too much on the three, and I don't think it's going to work against the Mavericks because the Mavericks can match their 3-point percentage.
100%.
And I just think I know everyone favors the Celtics, and they always will because of the regular season they had. But the Celtics can win. Don't get me wrong. It's just I think people are underestimating the Mavericks once again.
I think you're underestimating the Mavericks, but then again, how can you believe in the Celtics when you give a game away to the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler? When you give away a game to the Cavs, when the Cavs almost come back without Donovan Mitchell, they almost beat you twice without Donovan Mitchell.
And then with the Tyrese Halliburton, you almost lost twice.
Right, 100%. So how can people have the faith and the trust in the Celtics team when, this doesn't make any sense? How can the Miami Heat, without their star player, score that much against you guys healthy?
I mean, they're not, as I said in the podcast last week, they're not as good as advertised. Charles Barkley said it best. After that game against the Cavs, I believe, that they lost, he said, that was the first time I didn't think they could win the championship. They play too much iso ball and they shoot too many threes. And I think that's going to be the death of them.
100%.
And I mean, as we said, if they don't win the championship this year, it will be one of the biggest failures, if not the biggest failure in the NBA history.
It could be, right? Because
I mean, outside of maybe the 73-9 Warriors, which I believe lost to the Cavs.
They lost to the Cavs. Yes, they did. Thank you. They lost to us, 2016. But one of the biggest failures, the KG Nets. If you want to go another route, right? You had the Kevin Durant Nets. So I think that's team that had superstars were the biggest failures ever. So this could be, and this can definitely redefine Jason Tatum's and Jaylen Brown's legacies.
100%. I think Jaylen Brown will continue to play well. Jason Tatum is going to make or break the series as well as Kristaps Porzingis. Mainly Jason Tatum, though, because if he plays like he did in the game 2 against the Heat and the game 2 against the Cavs and then a game like he did against the Pacers, you can't do that in the finals. You just can't. And he has been there before in 2022, so he has more experience. But now we get to see, did he actually learn from the mistakes he made in 2022, or did he just brush it off?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he has a history of folding when pressure mounts, and I think it's going to happen again because he's not built to win when it matters, in my opinion.
Right.
Like for me personally, he ball hogs too much when the game gets close and when he thinks he is the guy when he really isn't. You need to move the ball. Yes, the game is close and you are the guy to take the shot, but if it's not a good shot, you got to move the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think the backcourt is going to torture the Boston Celtics, and that's why the Mavs will get over the hump.
Yeah.
This Mavericks team feels like the 2011 Mavericks team for me personally, where Dirk took down the Heat. I think that's going to happen this year. But obviously, Luka taking down the Celtics.
I agree.
It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a fun series. I can't wait for it. June 6th is when it begins, if anyone's wondering.
June 6th. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. What's going on in the sneaker world over there?
Going on in the sneaker world, I mean, we had a little bit of quietness going on in the sneaker world. We have great drops dropping in, the fall, the summer coming up. But I do want to shout out Roland Garros, French Open, obviously big tennis fan over here. That started this week. First round, second round. Could have been, Rafa Nadal's final, French Open match. So got a chance to see that. Unfortunately, he lost. just due to injury, due to his age. But we really got to appreciate his greatness. Got to appreciate Novak Djokovic, and his run that he's having right now, his career that he's had. So hopefully people can, really watch that and just appreciate their, those two guys' greatness. And then the new guys, like Alcaraz coming up, Sinner. So, really, this is good, changing in tides of power for the tennis, game and for those players. But really, I'm really happy because unfortunately, I don't want to think that, say that the American players aren't that good on clay, right? Like, the French Open is, but never know. So hopefully, we get to see an American win, like Tommy Paul. But just right now, just appreciate the greatness we get to see on this clay court because it's nothing like it. It is the French Open and it is the only clay court, major. So I mean, I'm very excited to watch it right now, and that's what I got to say for my segment. All right, what's going on in the video game world over there?
The video game world did have a big drop today. The NCAA 25 gameplay did drop. It looks very, very dope. So if you haven't seen it, I believe it's on Twitter, EA Sports, whatever you want to go on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you're on the most. Just search up EA Sports or the NCAA 25 gameplay. You'll see a 4.5-minute video of Kirk Herbstreit breaking down each new aspect included in the game. Some new aspects added in the game include revamped passing, wear and tear, home field advantage, and player abilities, both mental and physical. So if you want to see a deep dive into each of those abilities, just look up that video. Looks very sick, as I said, and cannot wait for this video game.
Awesome.
Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next one.
Hey, guys. Go ahead and find Nick Say down in the comment section. I know he's hiding there somewhere. If you guys like the video, we really appreciate it. Give that, give us a thumbs up. If you guys, want to do us another favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. And until next time, like two wise men once said, peace.
Peace.